Hey everybody, this is Adam from the Videogame Dads Podcast. I was cleaning out in the game room today, and I've been thinking about doing some YouTube videos for a while, kind of things in the collection. And I was moving around some vinyl and thought, showing you guys some video game vinyl might be kind of cool, and maybe some people be interested in that. I mean, it's a little bit of a niche, esoteric thing to collect, I suppose. If you like these kind of videos, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you like them. If you don't like them, that's fine too. You can even let me know that. Kind of trying to decide whether or not I should expend a lot of effort trying to do these. Obviously, this is going to be pretty low key and not going to have a lot of fancy editing or anything like that. But if it's something that you guys want us to spend time on or get better at or have higher production value, just let me know. So these three stacks of records here are all video game soundtracks. And so I thought some of these are still sealed just because I haven't had time to listen to them yet. And I haven't got done listening to things that I already have. But I've been collecting video game vinyl now for, I don't know, a good 2 or 3 years. But thought we could go through some of these and give you an idea of what's out there. So this one here is Lumines or Luminous. I never can remember how to pronounce it, remastered. It's got kind of a cool techno beat soundtrack. Most of the songs on it actually are really good. Some of them are terrible. So it's a little bit hit or miss, but this is pretty cool. This is a limited run release. And I believe this is a double vinyl. This is still sealed because I haven't opened it. I'm still playing the game. But one of these days I'll crack that dude open. This one I actually just got in the mail yesterday. So this came from I Am 8-Bit. And this is kind of the simplified version of the original Cuphead soundtrack. So there's a I believe it's a 4-piece vinyl. That runs about $100, and I think you can get it through Target or I Am 8-Bit. But I didn't want to spend that much money because the soundtrack is cool and Cuphead's cool, but it's not that cool. Not $100 worth of cool, at least to me. But I think this was like $40. And it's kind of a greatest hits compilation out of Cuphead. But I haven't cracked this one open yet because it just came in the mail yesterday. But you can see the packaging on it. Everything's really pretty neat. It's the heavier vinyl too. So that's a 2 record set there. This one I got just a week or 2 ago. And this was from Special Reserve Games, I believe. This is a limited print of 3,000 according to the sticker. But if you haven't played The Messenger, if you're a Ninja Gaiden or Gaiden, depending on how you want to pronounce it, fan, this game is very much modeled after that. And it's got a really cool soundtrack. I played it quite a bit on the Switch and thought that owning the soundtrack would be pretty neat. Again, haven't opened this one yet. This one is Another World, which is kind of a... I'm trying to remember, the rotoscoped action-adventure game. Again, this is one that I haven't opened yet. And I believe this one came with some games that I ordered for a limited run. I think this was part of a bundle, but haven't played the games yet. Haven't played the soundtrack. I know they're kind of a classic. They're on the back burner. This is Golf Story, also from limited run. This game is awesome, and it actually has a really cool soundtrack. It has golf in it, but it's not really about golf. It's kind of an action RPG where you sort of play golf in the game, but it's actually a really cool game, but it does have a vinyl soundtrack. Now this one right here is pretty neato, and you'll see a few Castlevanias in here. This one has been opened because I've listened to it quite a bit. So this is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and we'll just kind of look at a few of these as we go through. So you'll see that there's artwork on the inside, portraits of the characters in the game. There's Dracula on the back, and then of course the track list. This game obviously is pretty famous for its soundtrack. So again, it's a double vinyl. Now there may be special, there might be a special release of this. This is the heavier vinyl, but it's just the black, standard records. I believe I got this one from Mondo Tees. You can just Google any of these places and find these records. So I'll try to mention where I ordered these from as we go through. So this one, again, is sealed, and this is Streets of Rage 3. This came from Data Disc, and so if you search, it's Data Disc, and disc is DISC, datadisc.com. Now, they'll do pre-orders. When they release new vinyl, they'll have a special color of vinyl or something special about the packaging, and they'll do a pre-order for those. And after that pre-order's gone, it's usually just the standard black that's available after that. But that's Streets of Rage 3. Obviously not as good as Streets of Rage 2 as far as the soundtrack goes, in my opinion, but still pretty neat. This right here is cool. There's a guy that makes specialized vinyl and sells it online. If you Google Unfortunate Face, Big Cartel, BIGCARTEL, he sells through that website. It's basically a website that a lot of bands and things sell, like merchandising and that kind of thing through. Independent people sell merchandising, but in any respect, this is a compilation of NES classics. But it's neat because you see the zapper and it's done all Andy Warhol style, and here's Rob the Robot, also Andy Warhol style. So that's pretty neat. Again, I'm not sure if there's a track list in here, but it mostly, there's your can of soup. Yeah, and there's Marilyn Monroe on the other side. But it's pretty neat. It's basically just NES classics. It's a lot of well-known NES games. So this is another one of his records, and this is one of my favorites. It's Metroid Part 3, Super Metroid, here. And this is basically Metroid Greatest Hits. It actually has songs, I think, from, I believe, Metroid 1, 2, and 3 on it. But as you can see from the cover, it's a mashup of Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and Infinite Sadness with Samus. And you see that also here on the inside. And then Hip Tanaka on the back, which I believe is the composer. I could be wrong about that, but in any respect, but the vinyl in here is pretty neat too. It's kind of the see-through clear splatter vinyl, and there's 2 of these. Now again, I don't think this one's in print anymore, and I don't think that one's in print anymore either. You'd have to eBay for one of these. This is another one of his albums, and this is the Mega Man 3 soundtrack, and this is made as a mashup with the Flaming Lips album. I'm blanking on the name of the Flaming Lips album. It's Yoshimi versus the Robots or something like that is what it's called. But in any respect, it's again, it's Mega Man music. So if you're into Mega Man music, again, this one's out of print, but you'd have to eBay it. This one right here, I believe I got from Big Al's Awesome Sounds, and that website has since gone defunct, but you can still find this, I believe, new. So this is the Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 soundtracks. And again, it's pretty neat because it's got this cool insert, or not insert, but artwork on the inside showing the game. Then it's got fighter select screens on the back, and I believe this is just a standard edition black vinyl, but it's still pretty cool. So I have listened to that when it's open. And this one is from I Am 8-Bit. This is Mario in Rabbids Kingdom soundtrack. It's kind of neat. It's got this felt mustache on it. That my son really likes this album. But again, it's a 2-disc set. It's got this neat sort of panorama view of the game. On the inside, shows the back of his head on the other side. But it's a good soundtrack. I think it's got some stickers and various things down in here too. But pretty neat, and it's one of those clear see-through vinyls. But that's an I Am 8-Bit release, and I believe that one's still available as of the time of this recording, at least last time I looked. This is one of my favorite soundtracks, and it's also one of my favorite games that's released for the PS4, PC, modern consoles. I'm not sure if there's an Xbox release. I assume there is, but I don't know that for a fact. I played it on PS4 and PC. But this is like a heavy, techno kind of soundtrack, and the game is a twin stick shooter like Smash TV or Robotron, but it is awesome. The game's pretty short. You can beat it in about an hour or so, but there's a lot of replay value because there's hidden things and different ways to beat the levels. And if you haven't seen it, I recorded a live stream on YouTube a while back, but you ought to look at some YouTube videos of it. It is awesome, and I really like the way the vinyl looks here. This is one of the limited editions where it has this cool splatter effect on it. But this is probably my favorite modern soundtrack from a modern game. Again, there's a track list on the back. It's a two disc set. This one here is pretty neat. Slime Sand. I got this with the Switch release of the game. I believe that was a limited run release, if I'm not mistaken, but it's just 8-bit chiptune kind of music, real, beep, beep, boop, boop kind of stuff. But it's really cool. My kid really likes this one. And it's a good one to have playing in the background. It's neat. Honestly, I should know the composer of it, but I'm not sure who the composer is. But it's a good soundtrack. Again, 2-disc set, pretty neat packaging. And that's the thing that's always so striking to me about all of these soundtracks is the packaging is just so cool on all of them. Here's another neat one. So Mick Gordon, and this is the new Doom, 2016 Doom soundtrack. I believe there's a few different editions of this one. This one is still available. I believe I got this one from Big Al Sound. Again, it's defunct, but you can find it in other places. And I'll try to open these one-handed here without tearing anything up. But you'll see that these are pretty neat. I mean, they have artwork from the game, big 2-disc set, and they're on this like cool kind of transparent see-through red vinyl. It's pretty neat. I'm gonna set my phone down real fast maybe and get these put up, but I just slide them to the side. But that's a cool set, and of course that's the opening scene of the game and so forth. But this is another one of my favorites. This is the Earthworm Jim Anthology, so it's kind of a compilation of the different games soundtrack, and it's got some info about the game, kind of this cool stuff on the inside. And then there's a track list here on the back. I just like the artwork on it. And the other thing that's cool about this particular set is that the inserts that actually hold the disc are kind of neat. So I mean, I think this is like Earthworm Jim's boxer shorts, and the disc on the inside. The first one of these is sort of like Earthworm Jim smashed out, and then on the other disc, set that over here. On the other disc, it's the cow, because in Earthworm Jim they love cows, launching cows and doing things with cows for whatever reason, but that's like the snot, the slime, that's transparent green vinyl. Now again, I'm not sure, there may be different editions of this without the colored vinyl. I'm not sure about that. This one, I believe, I can't remember. I either got this on one of the limited run sales or through Mondo Tees. I can't remember which one. So this one, I believe, I got this through limited run. And this is the Windjammers original soundtrack. So if you're a Neo Geo fan and like the Windjammers, it has a soundtrack. I think that one's still available too. Now this one here, I don't really know anything about. I got it because in order to get the game, I think the only bundle left had the soundtrack in it. So I haven't played the game yet, so I haven't listened to the soundtrack. So this is Kingdom. And there are a lot of modern indie games that are soundtrack releases, and this being one of them, but I just haven't listened to it yet. This here is Castlevania 1, and this is like a small, smaller vinyl because the soundtrack's pretty short, but it's got the stage layout from the game, and Medusa's here on the back, and then it's got a track listing. The original Castlevania soundtrack, this may be my favorite soundtrack of all time. I really like this soundtrack. It's NES classic, this one right here, but that's original Castlevania. And then kind of an underrated soundtrack. Maybe it's not underrated because a lot of people still like it. Some people hate parts of it, and there are parts of the soundtrack that are kind of annoying, but overall it's pretty good. This is Castlevania 2 soundtrack. Again, the Castlevania 1 and the Castlevania 2, I believe I got both of these on Mondo Tees. And this one has like cool blue-green splatter, vinyl on the inside. I know you're supposed to treat your vinyl with kid gloves, and I try to be nice to it, so if anybody's cringing as I'm moving through these, I'm sorry. So this is Sunset Riders. This was an IM 8-bit release. I think this sold out pretty fast. But Sunset Riders, pretty classic. Again, this is a smaller disc, and this one's pretty cool, and I like the soundtrack a lot. It's on kind of this clear, this clear see-through vinyl, so it's kind of neat. Okay, this is probably my favorite Genesis soundtrack of all time. That's Streets of Rage 2. This one's gotten a fair bit of listening to. Artwork on the inside. I can't help but think this guy looks exactly like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bad guy. His name escapes me at the moment, but I believe both these are see-through vinyl, but nothing too fancy. This again was from Data Disc, and a lot of the Sega ones, datadisc.com. A lot of the Sega soundtracks are on Data Disc, and a lot of them I don't have. There's a lot of them that are actually there. Most of them I believe are still in print. So this is Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is an IM 8-bit release. And as you can see here, and of course Rare, Microsoft, but since they own the rights to it now, but this is a real cool, real cool set. I actually have 2 of those. And I got an extra one by accident. Happens sometimes, but here's Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. Again, this is an IM 8-bit release. This one I haven't cracked yet, but one of these days. And then this one here is another awesome soundtrack. I just got this very recently. Again, this was from Mondo Tees, and this is Castlevania Rondo of Blood. These things are awesome. I mean, it has the Dracula X logo on the back, but that's the Rondo of Blood soundtrack. I actually think maybe I like the Rondo of Blood soundtrack the best out of any of the Castlevania soundtracks, honestly. Again, here's the opened Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's the heavier vinyl. It's just the black vinyl, but this is what it looks like on the inside. This is the opening scene from the game. And again, track list on the back. This is not a video game soundtrack. This is just something I found at an old antique store I thought was cool. It's a printed vinyl of the Berenstain Bears. I got this for my 5-year-old. It is pretty darn cool if you were into the Berenstain Bears in the past. I'm not sure why that's in with my video game vinyl, but this is the kind of crap I waste my money on. Well, I guess in addition to the other. So this is Volume. This is a PS Vita and PS4 release. This is a limited run. And these limited runs, they pop up from time to time. And a lot of the limited runs, just so you guys know, the games are sold out, but a lot of the soundtracks aren't made or pressed or even distributed by limited run. They just come up on the website from time to time, like around Christmas. So a lot of these are still in print. I'm not sure if this one in particular is, but a lot of these are still in print. This is a kind of a popular point-and-click adventure recent game that a lot of people like. This is Thimbleweed Park's soundtrack. Here's the Thomas Was Alone soundtrack. Again, both Thimbleweed Park and Thomas Was Alone were I found on limited run. This one, I think I got this one on Big Al's Awesome Sound. This is the Portal soundtrack, and a lot of it's just sort of ambient atmospheric music. So it's, good background stuff just when you're doing something else. But it's kind of neat because it's got little references to the game. The coolest thing about this one is when you open it up, it's like a wall. I remember how this works, but you can turn it over and open it from the other side too, and the portal goes away. I have one of the, if you have your albums in here the correct direction, which I don't, it turns from a red to an orange portal. And it's just kind of neat because the album cover is built with a portal built into it, essentially. I just have one of the records flipped around backwards because I wasn't paying attention last time. So this is the Strafe soundtrack. I'm trying to remember where I got this one from. I think it was one of the limited run sales, and I think I got this one cheap, but again, kind of neat artwork. But I've only listened to that one a couple of times, but it's good. Here's the Thumper soundtrack. I love this soundtrack, actually. If you're into industrial techno music like Nine Inch Nails or that kind of thing, Thumper soundtrack, you'll enjoy that one. If you haven't played Thumper yet, it's pretty cool VR game, both on PS4 and PC. I've played it on both. There is a Switch release, and it's good on Switch. It just lacks the VR. So another one of my favorite modern soundtracks, Sonic Mania. This one, I believe, is still in print from various places. And you could even get this one at Target at one time. I'm not sure if it's still there or not, but it's got this cool, internal art. And I'm not sure how easy this is going to be to show, but the vinyl, or this has a neat blue transparent color to the actual vinyl itself. That's pretty cool. Another one of my favorite Genesis soundtracks. This is Rocket Knight Adventures. I believe I got this one from Ship to Shore Phone Company. And this one may still be in print. But if you're a fan of Rocket Knight Adventures, that one's pretty cool. This is Gunstar Heroes. Again, this is data disc. And this is a 4-disc set. But it's got these cool, like lithograph kind of poster sort of things inside of it. So if you were really into Gunstar, you could get this and you can frame the lithographs that are on the inside and the inserts. Had this cool artwork on them too here. But it's a good soundtrack, treasure shooter, awesome Genesis game, one of the best soundtracks on the system, one of the best games on the system. Good stuff. This one I got the other day, and again, I got this one as part of a bundle because I kind of had to in some ways. I don't know anything about it. Can't tell you whether it's good or not. But again, that was a limited run thing. This was one of the first video game soundtracks I ever bought. And you can say I got it from Hot Topic. I don't like going into that place. It's a little bit too yuppie, but that's back when they had vinyl. But this is the kind of a compilation of best tracks from Mega Man 1 through 10. And this is the actual vinyl. It just came in this clear thing, but it has this real neat print on it. And it's got cool level layouts and prints here on the back. And I don't know, you can Google it. I've been to this Space Lab in the past. They have, various vinyls and sometimes video game vinyls available. But, this is an officially licensed Capcom type thing. This one just got the other day. This is, and have not listened to it yet, but this is Gradius, the OG Gradius soundtrack. I do believe this was a Mondo Tease, but I'm not 100% certain on that. This is Killer Instinct, the soundtrack. Pretty classic, IM 8-bit release. And this is Shinmu release, and so that's pretty cool if you're into Dreamcast. It's got this cool kind of blue transparent vinyl to it, and this was a data disc release because it is a Sega release, and like I was saying before, Sega sells most of theirs through data disc. So this one's cool. This is another data disc release. This is the original Metal Slug soundtrack. I got a lot of nostalgia with this one. Again, got this cool artwork on the inside. This is just a kind of a cover thing. That's not part of it. But I kind of wish that, at times, sometimes I had the posters, or posters of the artwork from the inside of these. Now, here's another modern game. Have not opened this one. This is Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. And again, this is a limited run release. But haven't gone there yet. And then this is a really good soundtrack for anybody that's played it or into it. But Risk of Rain. And again, this was a limited run. But like I said, a lot of these, if I'm saying limited run about these, just remember they may still be available. A lot of these may have had a special edition print for limited run just in general, but they're still available on other websites and through other means. But this right here is another Ship to Shore. And again, this one may still be in print, but this is the Mother 2 soundtrack from Japan. So if you're an Earthbound fan, there you go. Here's Darius. It's kind of like a Darius Greatest Hits soundtrack from Taito Sound Team, Arcade Classics Volume 2. But that's pretty cool stuff. I think I got this on a sale on the Limited Run website, but it was through a different vendor. And here you go. It's actually Shipped to Shore. So this one may still well be available if you're into Darius. Well, this is another one of those mashups like I was showing you earlier. So this is Donkey Kong Country soundtrack, but this is obviously a mashup from the Folsom Prison album by I'm blanking. Sings Ring of Fire. Johnny Cash, guy. So in any respect, Donkey Kong Country is one of my favorite Super Nintendo soundtracks, but this cool mashup, I couldn't pass up on that. So that is some cool stuff right there. Pretty neat. And this is the Bit Trip Greatest Hits. So if you played any of the Bit Trip games, this is just a compilation of a bunch of music from the Bit Trip games. I believe that was on limited run some time ago. Here, this is Breach and Clear Deadline, again, limited run. And here's Broken Age. Again, this is a limited run release. Double Fine. A lot of people are real into this kind of stuff. This one right here is one of my favorites too, and this is one of my favorite, soundtracks of all time. Definitely one of my favorite NES, but this is Battletoads. This one actually is really hard to find. It was, I think, a limited release, and I don't think it's ever been printed again. So this one actually will set you back a little bit if you go to look for it. I think it's over $100 now. It was less than that when it was released, obviously, but that's the Battletoads. That is a pretty cool soundtrack. That's, like I said, that's one of my favorites. This is just an empty case. Sometimes when you order from this guy that does these mashups, he'll just send you an extra empty case. So it's just an empty case. So this is, I believe this is Contra 3. But there you go, Contra 3, Alien Wars, and it's got some, some stuff. This is a Mondo Tease, I believe. In a lot of the Konami games, just at various websites and various places, you can actually find the releases. I'm trying to remember if this is this one's the cool splatter. So this is one of my favorite looking albums. It's got this cool, double blue and red splatter effect on it. That's pretty neat. I'm gonna set my phone down for just a second. Okay, now this is the original Contra right here, and as you can see, there's the boss, and some artwork on the back. And I think this one's a special release or limited release vinyl too. I think it's the same blue and red. Yeah, it's not quite the same. It's a little bit more opaque, and the blue's a little bit different color. But again, it's kind of neat. It sort of looks like a Pokeball. But yeah, I love both those releases. This is I'm trying to remember which one this is. Yeah, this is Super Castlevania 4. So this is Super Castlevania 4. Again, it's a double album set, and I believe this one was from Mondo Tees. But again, those Castlevania soundtracks are just awesome. This one is Castlevania 3, the Famicom and NES version. And if I remember correctly, it's been a little while since I've listened to this, but like one of the albums is the NES version, and then the other album is the Famicom version. And the reason both are on here is because the Famicom version actually has better sound because of additional sound channels. There was some chip in the European version it may have been European too, but in the Japanese version that allowed better music. So depending on if you want nostalgia or if you want better sound with more channels, you got both of them in there. But that's a cool release. And then this one's another really neat release. So some of you have probably heard of the Zelda Symphony that travels around the United States and does these symphony concerts. This is a release of their music, and this was from I Am 8-Bit. But the cool thing about this is, so there's like the ocarina here, and it lines up, and when you pull out the actual, inserts, it's got these cool inlays on it. Just looks really nice. Like, this is a really well done, album set. And again, this is Zelda music, but it's symphony music. So if you like classical symphony music, it's going to be up your alley. If you don't, it's not. So it's not exactly as you remember your Zelda music, but it's pretty close, and it's pretty cool. But that's an Iron 8-bit release. So that's it. That's all of my video game vinyl. Again, let me know if you guys like these kind of videos, and I'll keep doing them. If you think that they're a waste of time, let me know that too, and I won't do them. But if you're into video game music or you think it's cool, I collect other vinyl. I collect a lot of classic rock albums and even symphony music and other stuff, just things I think look interesting or cool. But definitely a really neat subsection of, vinyl is these video game soundtracks, just because of, nostalgia. And some of them are just kind of fun to listen to sort of go back. And I honestly use these a lot of the time when I'm working on something else for work, or, I'm cleaning, or just whatever. They're just fun to have playing in the background, and my kids enjoy them a lot too. So thanks for tuning in.